I thought we were running out of time.
Oh,
So we're going.
we're going. So I try to do it at my house because we use 3 cameras and the lights and all that. So, but sometimes if somebody wants me to go to their home, like this Dr. Matteo Moody, who's a psychiatrist, we went to his house. So I enjoy interviewing all kinds of people.
What 3 cameras now? You said this is who does that? This
A friend of mine does it, who was very nice. When I was doing public access, he said, "Well, you know, I enjoy this. I'll help you out." And he would come over and he did the cameras, and he did. At that time, there was a lot of editing.
right?
So you remember on YouTube, you had to go 1, 2, 3 because they only let you talk for what 10, 15 minutes. Now you put the whole show on.
You could put the whole show
But
on.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's so much better.
so much better. Yeah,
Yeah.
I do 30 minutes at a time. Well, it cuts off at 30. I got to figure out how to make it run longer. I'm still learning myself. But 3 cameras, that's interesting, and to do that. So you really do it very much more professional than I do.
Well, we try, yes. Well, he was in the business at one time. He was an editor, and so that's nice that he helped me out.
Fortunate, and
Yes.
and that's what another thing I think is good, that you can go wherever the people are.
Yes.
That
I mean,
makes
usually it has been at my house. We'll do it in the house. I've done several outside, but that can be a little problem because you got the airplanes going over.
Right.
But I've done several outside.
Ah. And when because I'm thinking there's a few people I like to. I was thinking of maybe going to their home and doing, because they have to hear. With the lighting here is so good.
Yeah, it looks like it. Yes.
Well, when you see the show, it comes. I mean, your face is, like you don't, no touch-ups. No, it really comes out nice. So I enjoy that. Now, what kind of? Then I want to go back to some of your interviews. How do you go about getting your guests and stuff like
Well,
that?
actually, a lot of people have called me. Somebody that I met on Facebook got in touch with me, and well, that was actually after Paul Peterson. I got Paul Peterson through a friend of mine,
Right.
Stephen Benson, who's been in the business for many years. He called and said, "You should interview Paul Peterson." So I called Paul. He said, "I'd love to do it," and he was a very good interview. And then I got Doreen.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like everyone that I have asked, that everybody wants to come and be interviewed. And then I did B.B. Dickerson. Are you familiar with War? Cisco Kid was a friend. Well, what a character he is. And he came on the show. And then I even had my gynecologist, 2 gynecologists.
That was interesting.
I told you I do everything.
That just got to be XXX.
Well,
No, interesting.
Well, I guess if you want to look at it that way, but they're talking medically.
Medically, yeah.
Yeah, so if you're talking about vaginal rejuvenation, it's medical.
It's another way.
And it's funny, they wanted to come on. I said, well, sure,
Well, I had Bonnie Gale on, who has this, it's called Sex Butter, which I found very, very, very interesting. And I do have, I have right from A-list to XXX, if you look at some of my old shows. I mean, every aspect is really interesting.
Oh yeah, I've had 3 porn stars on.
Yeah, I have.
Yeah, and one was Tabitha Stevens.
No, I forgot the name. I had Rebecca. I had the mother and daughter, Desi Fox and her daughter, now, which was interesting. Now she's totally against porn.
Some of them are. John Holmes. John Holmes, of course, we all do. And I had his wife on. And now, apparently, she's gone the other way, trying to get people... Yeah.
And sometimes I wonder about that. I mean, when they go the other way, is it another way of looking for fame? To get their name out there?
Could be. But, it's like a lot of people, you go from one extreme to the other.
Right.
Like, you can be a complete drug addict and this and that, and then you become a born-again Christian.
Right. Which is, yeah, you're right. I mean, there's no in
one
between.
extreme to the other.
And which both sides is sad, because she's totally in that, and then you're into that, and you hate that. And
Exactly.
It screws you up. But I often wonder about when people start going to the other way, of why. Why are you doing that? Is it really because you are interested in, or you're trying to keep your name out there, or you're running some sort of non-profit unit?
Right. And then they throw it down your throat.
Yeah, you know, then there's a lot of scams going on.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
A lot of scams going on there.
So it's just interesting to interview different kinds of people. Like I interviewed a woman who's actually a very good friend of mine, and she went to my school. And a beautiful woman, and she was an actress, then she became a playmate, then she became a heroin addict, and then she became a hooker for 36 years.
Wow.
And she came on the show, and I mean, she's totally straightened her act out. I mean, she's lucky, you know.
Yeah.
So, and then I had one woman come on, young girl.
But that's a good story.
It is a good story, because she,
yeah, that's a story people want to know about, because...
Yes.
And that's not, yeah, I would have her on in a minute, because that's life.
That's life. And then, but I had another girl on who was molested by her father for many, many, many years. And at the end of the interview, she said, I have forgiven him. And I said, how can you forgive a son of a bitch like that? You know?
Yeah,
I don't understand that.
I don't, that, you know,
yeah.
child molesters and this and that, you know, I don't know how you could forgive them.
See, I just couldn't. I mean, absolutely couldn't. And then I had Debbie Trejo on, who's Danny Trejo's ex-wife, because she's an animal activist. And she's very much into helping pit bulls. Which, you know, people have the wrong opinion of pit bulls. It's the people that own them and they fight them. I mean, I had a little puppy with me the other day, absolutely adorable. So I'm a big animal advocate.
Oh, yeah, well, I love animals.
Yeah.
I have a couple of squirrels out there that I feed. I have a hummingbird I call Pinocchio.
Pinocchio.
He sits on that thing all the time for the last 2 years.
Aww.
Sits there. He'll sit there for hours. He's not here right now, but he'll be back later.
Well, I have a dog and I have a cat. I've never gone without a pet since I was 3.
Oh. Well, I never know where I'm going to be, so I don't want to have, you know, you can't have an animal if you can't.
Yeah, so you're not always here.
No, well, I'm not. Yeah, as I said, I'm moving in January.
Where are you going?
I'm hoping to find a place in NoHo. I have a place waiting for me there. But
where's NoHo?
North Hollywood, they call it.
Oh!
They call it NoHo.
I mean, I've been here all my life.
Yeah,
What's NoHo?
It's new, yeah. It's right over by the American television.
Yeah, I know North Hollywood, sure.
And which is be a lot closer for me too. Going over the hill to Subway, because I don't like to drive. I have my car passes everything but the gas station.
Well, that's because you're a New Yorker and
I enjoy walking. You know.
Yeah, walking's good.
And besides, a bus pass is like $14 a month. And so why not? You know, I'm not afraid of the bus. I enjoy it. You know, if you're not in a hurry, why not?
Yeah.
You know, and they clean, they're air conditioned. Trouble is, and well, that's another story. You know, but you live in Malibu. How do you like living in Malibu?
Well, I love Malibu. I mean, I basically love the beach, and my house looks over. You know, I can see the ocean. Yeah. What I don't like is certain times when the coast is a mess. You know, you come to my house on a weekend, and especially if it's warm, it's a mess.
Oh, you mean with people?
Yeah, the traffic.
Oh, the traffic out there is...
It's terrible. Like today, I knew I had to be here at 11, and I left like at 10 to 10, and I was fine.
Yeah.
But if you would tell me you have to be here like at 8:30 or 9...
Oh, yeah, forget it.
That's a pain.
That's another thing, but getting here is easy that time of day. You know, just come over the hill and...
Yeah, I've lived there for many, many years, and of course I was born in Santa Monica, so that's also near the beach.
Yeah. And your show now, how is it going? I mean, when people look at it, what kind of response did you get from it?
Well, I think I get good ones. I put several new ones that I haven't had up for a long time, because I'm sort of learning how to put it up myself now. And the gentleman that it does my work, he's working on so many different things, music, and he's a writer. We haven't had time to do some new ones. But I think you saw the one with Steve Stevens, who's a friend of mine from Hollywood Professional.
Right, yeah. Well, actually, Sharon Farrell, who you said you know.
I know of her, of course.
Yeah, but she said he was his agent. He came out of retirement.
That's right, yeah.
To work with her, and she invited him on the show. She's been a co-host with a lot of shows here. And we're trying to get now where we're going to do over at the Actors Home.
Oh, yes.
You know, I got to call in over there, and I just emailed them back and waiting to hear back.
That's in Woodland Hills.
Right.
I interviewed Farrod Nicholas, remember the Nicholas brothers?
Right.
And that's where I went and talked to him, and then he came on the show. And my mother worked with him, so I remember I called him and I said, you know, I'd like to have you on the show. I said, I'm Donna Mason's daughter. We met. Right. He said, I can't say no to Donna Mason's daughter. Of course I'll be on.
So he came on.
Oh yeah, my mother loved the Nicholas brothers,
Uh,
and of course Eleanor Powell was her dearest friend.
Eleanor Powell, I remember her.
Oh, what a dancer she was.
She was, but she was short, very small.
No, not too small. No.
I always had a.
My mother was 5'7".
That's about the average height of it. That's a rockette.
I guess.
They
I
have
think
to be 5'7".
Is that what you have to be for rockette?
Yeah, rockettes. I dated rockettes. That's all I know.
Yeah.
Back in the. But yeah, but I would the history that's up there in that home. I would love to. That's when go there and maybe start interviewing people, because that's gonna, them stories will be gone.
That's right.
So hopefully
I'm so glad that I got him.
Yeah. And well, that's good for you. You should try to do more. If I get involved, maybe you can come with me. I'll let you know, because there's a lot of people up there.
Absolutely. Oh, I love interviewing. And you give me a camera, I'm happy.
Yeah. But I mean, the stories that they have to tell.
Absolutely, yeah.
And what are some of your favorite stories that you were told?
Well, Farrah Nicholas was one of them. We went all back to how he got started with his brother and the dancing. And, of course, I had an interest because my mother was close to him. Another interview I liked, as I told you, was B.B. Dickerson, because War is one of the biggest rock groups there has been. And his stories are hysterical because he's nuts.
I never heard of War. Keep talking.
Yeah, well, you would, if you checked War, they had so many hits. And he's just like a comedian, so that was funny.
Really?
And then I've had shows where it's been rough. I did one with a guy who lost family with the Katrina. That was a sad one. You get some sad ones. But I like kind of up. But I also like something that's socially, that people have to listen to, open their minds and their eyes,
As instant? What?
Well, like my girlfriend that started out so pretty, being a nice little actress, and I mean, it was horrible because she was so beautiful that she could have probably been a very high-class call girl. But instead, I mean, it was just, that's what drugs do. You will do anything for drugs, yes. When you're on, especially, when you're on a hardcore drug.
And in this town, to be a movie star, they all come out and want to be a movie star. Becoming a prostitute is, well, it's part of the business a lot of times.
You're right.
A lot of people don't realize it, especially for women.
Right.
There's a couple of shows that we were talking, and either on camera and off camera, we're talking about certain producers and this and that. If you don't perform, these sexual acts.
Oh, I lost a lot of things because of that.
Yeah, it's
a lot. This one guy had his foot up on the table with a cigar, and he said, "I have it down to 3 girls. Now this weekend, I'll take you to Acapulco." I said, "No, thank you." But the saddest one for me was when I was really studying hard, like I told you at Desilu and with Jeff Corey, and I got a big interview at 20th Century Fox. Now I just turned 18, and I go in and I had my whole monologue. They never even listened to it. They
Really?
said, well, why don't you just show us your can and take off your top? And I said, no. And they said, well, don't you realize this is what the business is, and movies are now going to become very realistic. There's going to be a lot of that. I said, you know something? I'm not that hungry. And I walked out, and they said, young lady, you have no idea what we're offering you. And I walked out. Of course, I completely broke down in the car with my mother.
I mean, yeah.
Because I really worked, and I felt I knew the craft, and they didn't want to hear me, do it.
When you broke down,
they didn't see me break down.
No, I know, but what I'm saying is that feeling. What did that do to you as an actor?
It made me feel
as a person, really.
Yeah, it made me feel all that work, and that I really felt I studied, that I was just a piece of meat. That's how I felt. And, you get that insecure feeling like you're not worth anything. But my mother kind of prepared me with things. She says, this is going to happen. You know, these things are going to happen.
That's interesting, because your mother, they prepared. She saw a lot of it.
She saw a lot of it, and she was lucky that, see, she didn't want to be an actress, so she was seduced left and right. We'll make you a star, and this, even Robert Leroy told her that. But she wasn't interested. She said, I like choreographing, so she was able to have a good job, keep her job, and she stayed until she decided she wanted to have me.
Wow.
So.
Yeah, being on the other side of the camera, she could.
Oh, she saw a lot.
She could get away with it too. I mean, she didn't have to put up with the
Right.
You know, the abuse.
When you're behind the camera a lot and you're teaching, it's a whole different thing than being, quote, the star.
Yeah, because we had someone who ran for the SAG board was on talking about that, and he was sitting here, and he says he wants to do away with sexual harassment, and I just, that's unrealistic. That's never going to happen.
No.
You know, from the beginning of time, whether it's show business, whatever it is, it's good. Sex is what sells.
That's right. And you're also picking a profession that so many people want to be in, and they'll do anything to do it. You know? So you're right, sex sells. There's no doubt about it.
And when you look at yourself, you know, as a product, not as a person. You know, when I remember at Actors Studio, when I would do a scene or something, I would never get up there as John Solari. You know, afterwards, I would be the actor.
Yeah.
Because then I could take everything that wasn't nice.
Right.
You know, but if you get up there and you take it personal,
you got to get a hard shell, which as you
people
grow
don't
older,
understand
it can
that.
happen. But as a kid, it's hard.
Keep saying that. Keep talking about
I was like seduced at the age of 12 and 13, and that's very hard. And that's when you really feel the pain. And you get all confused. When you get older, you're starting to get that hardened shell going, yeah, I know what it could be,
Yeah. I mean, and you do. And when you get older, if I would have did this, and should I have done that? I could have done this.
Right.
And you got to let those things go.
You got to let it go.
You know, because they'll just eat you up, make you bitter. And you don't seem to be you seem to be very pleasant, and you have a very outgoing personality. And I don't know, maybe that's because you didn't get involved.
Could be.
And because I think a lot of people that do that, they do have them regrets that they did it.
Yeah, I can see where you would, because you'd say, look how I got it.
Well, I didn't get here on my own,
That's
on my
right.
talent. I got here on my,
That's right.
on my ass, my tits, or
Right.
whatever it was. And that's, I can see that, and the bitterness comes out. And I've been around a few in the business, and you could tell this when that
hardness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and they're not enjoyable to make love to.
I can understand.
I mean, it's just not kosher.
Yeah.
If you want to put it that way, but yes. So that's interesting. And what advice do you give to people today?
To young people that want to get in the business?
Yeah, what would you say?
Study your craft, respect yourself, and get ready for some hard knocks.
A lot of hard knocks.
A lot of hard knocks. And if you want it that bad, you just have to keep pursuing and pursuing. I think the greatest thing that people can do, young people, is get little theater. Because I respect theater actors tremendously. And
why is that?
well, because when you're on stage, you have to remember lines. You have to show the audience the character that you are up there. Now, when you're doing film, you can cut all the time. Cut,
Right.
do it that way, cut. So when you're up on that stage, I remember I saw Equus with Sir Anthony Hopkins, and he blew me away. I mean, he's probably one of the greatest actors that's ever lived, face it.
One of them.
Yeah, and I didn't realize until after the show, and I remember I was in the restroom and Lainey Kazan was in there, and we just looked at each other and she went, "Have you ever seen such great acting?" Yeah, that was at the Huntington Hartford many years ago.
And she can act herself.
Yes, she can.
She's a member of Actors Studio.
Yes.
Yeah, Lainey, and she's singing, what a voice.
Oh, yeah.
She really does.
Yeah.
It's a very attractive woman, even with all the weight she gained and all that.
Oh, she is, very.
And she still has that, like Anna Mangani sex appeal.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
What was the last film I saw? The Greek something?
I don't know.
I forgot. But yeah, I enjoy her and everything.
My favorite year was,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
and that's one of my favorite films. Well, I'm a big fan of Peter O'Toole.
Well, yeah, fabulous actor.
Oh, well, they come, Peter O'Toole, Richard Burton, and actually when Anthony Hopkins, when he did Line in the Winter, was it?
Yes.
With Peter O'Toole and Katharine Hepburn.
I've always enjoyed his films, but just seeing him on stage, you know, Equus is a very heavy show.
Yeah, right,
And that, you know, the scenes between he and the kid, and I mean, it went on, and I just went, boy, this guy acts.
Well, yeah, it's true. And well, he had the training.
Yes.
And he was with the best.
Mm-hmm.
And he's still, yeah, you're right. Yeah, you would have to consider him. Yeah, great. I remember years ago, back in Jimmy Ray's, that we used to talk. I used to write this actor's name down, and I'm saying I'm going to name the greatest American living actor, and you're not going to get it. But when I show you who it is, you're going to say you're right. And now, if this was like 15 years ago, who would you say was the greatest living American actor? Say 10 years ago.
Well, I mean, because maybe he's kind of a newer one, but I've always thought De Niro was fantastic. Pacino, Hoffman.
That's the names they were doing. And then I turned it over, and I was Jack Lemmon.
Jack Lemmon was fabulous. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
You know?
Yes.
There you go. That's exactly what people would say. Because they took him for granted.
Yes.
He
and
did
he could be funny. He could do Days of Wine
Everything.
and Roses. You're right. He was a fantastic actor.
Yeah. And people never used to say, oh, and they did exactly what you said. You're exactly right.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
I got a lot of free drinks on that one. I did. I said, you know, I bet you a drink. You know, and people would say, you're absolutely right. I mean, his work, when you look at the body of work that he did.
Well, you do anything.
Anything. And he did it all. Another one was Sammy Davis Jr.
Well, is there anything he couldn't do?
That's what I'm saying.
I remember my mom took me when I was very young. She said, I'm going to take you to see Mr. Show Business.
Yeah.
And she was right. There was nothing this man couldn't do. And I had lunch with him towards the end of his life.
Right.
And we were at the Hollywood Roosevelt, and I said, well, Sammy, you're the greatest that's ever been. There's no doubt. I said, who do you think is the greatest? He said, Michael Jackson, as an entertainer. As an entertainer, that's who he picked.
Well, back then, I could see him saying Michael. But if he would have said all around, I don't know.
This was more entertainer, singer, not actor, of course.
Yeah.
But
Sammy was the best.
Oh, phenomenal talent. Absolutely.
What really surprised me when he said he never trained as a singer. He never had, you know.
What a gift.
I mean, he had this incredible voice and no training. Where he learned a lot. Yeah, I mean, he grew up, you know, in show business.
Right,
so
as a little kid.
dancing and this and that. And it must have been incredible. So how did that turn out that you got to meet Sammy?
Well, we went to a luncheon, my mom and I, and it was for Hermes Pan, who was a big choreographer at that time, and we were all honoring him. And Sammy was there with his wife, and Juliet Prowse was there, and he just happened to be sitting at our table.
Oh.
And right next to me, so of course I shook his hand and I said, oh my God, Mr. Show Business, the greatest that's ever lived. And he was as nice as can be. And, you know, he had his cane. He was getting older and he wasn't well at the time.
The secrets.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I remember him saying, he says, he wasn't sorry that he didn't smoke. You know?
Yeah.
He loved smoking. And then I could relate to that because I stopped, but if there's one thing I miss is smoking. I really enjoy smoking.
I was a social smoker. That means like on a weekend if I was out, I never ever got addicted.
Oh, wow,
the only addiction I've ever had in my life is chocolate.
Oh.
Oh, I can't give me one C's candy. I can't.
Yeah, C's candy is good.
I love chocolate.
Well, who doesn't really?
Yeah.
When it comes to chocolate. That's amazing though. But that's what he said, and I always remember that. He said, nah, he says, I miss smoking.
Wow.
You know, and Robert, when you said Robert Blake went to see him too before he died in the hospital because that song from Beretta.
Yeah.
And we just lost the other day. I read where what's his name? Musain. Was Tommy Musain who played Toma.
Oh.
And he just passed away.
He just passed away.
He lived in the village there, but that's how Beretta came. Because he only did it for a year and he didn't want to do it after that. It was a hit show, Toma.
Wow.
Tony Musenti.
And what's Bobby Blake doing now,
Well,
other than Dr. Phil?
Yeah, it's about all he can do because, from what I understand, he lost the case in the civil. So
Yeah.
what could he do? But because Tony didn't want to do the show anymore, they created Beretta.
I see.
Or else there never would have been a Beretta. You know,
Yeah, it's quite a hit show.
Yeah, I enjoyed Beretta. Yeah, it was good.
Oh, I never missed it.
Blake was a good actor. What was he like when you met him?
He was very well. When I first met him, believe it or not, I met him at St. John's Hospital. I was there. I was working there at the time, and he was there visiting someone, and it was pouring down rain, and I was walking down the steps and fell on my ass. This guy comes behind me and helps me up, and he says, "Are you okay?" And I went up. I said, "I am now."
Yeah.
So he was as nice as can be. But I took dance classes with Joe Tremaine and his wife at the time.
Sandra?
Yeah, Sandra.
Sandra Blake.
Yeah, she was in my class.
I know Sandra from Actors Studio. So I got to get her to come on the show.
Yeah.
She's very talented. And yeah, that was what they were married for. I said, yeah, well, I don't want to get into that yet. But anyway, who's some of the other people that you admired growing up?
Growing up? Well, of course, I loved Sinatra and Dean Martin and all those people. I was a huge Elvis fan.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I loved Elvis. Yeah. As far as actors, well, of course, I loved Liz Taylor and like Natalie Wood. Natalie Wood.
I'm trying to get a sister to come on.
Oh, Lana?
She said she would. But
oh, good.
Lana, if you're listening, come on. But when you
She's the cat person.
Yeah,
she loves cats.
What's great about now is that you have YouTube where I can watch all the roasts, the Dean Martin roast.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, today you couldn't get that on TV. It's to be politically incorrect. They wouldn't allow it.
That's right.
They'd be calling it racist and this and that. And when I watch some shows, I'm thinking, there was nothing racist. They were having fun.
You know, I think people today are so uptight with everything. I remember I went to Vegas and I saw Don Rickles and he tore me to pieces. And I was put in the front. Of course, I had an outfit that was definitely, it was like an Arabian outfit.
I was going to say, yeah, he must have went after you.
Oh, he did. And he came over after the show and he said, "I hope I didn't hurt your feelings." I said, "Mr. Rickles, if I thought you would do that, would I be wearing this and sitting here?"
Yeah.
But he said, people just don't have a sense of humor.
They don't.
You know,
go ahead.
And it's a shame that you're afraid to say something. Either
today, yes.
Yeah. Where's the sense of humor?
I mean, I'll be incorrect right now. I mean, years ago, I always said Oriental.
Oh, no, now it has to be Asian.
Now it has to be Asian, but they're not even the Asians I'm thinking of. Now they're coming from Iran or somewhere.
Yeah.
You know, they include them. I mean, I always think of Asians as Chinese, Japanese.
Right.
I never even thought of the Koreans. To me, Asians with Japanese or well, not even with Chinese.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
I mean, everything has changed so much today. I mean, you say something and
you're afraid you're going to offend somebody.
It's it. You know, I was telling somebody one day. I says, in order to be politically correct today, you have to lie.
That's right.
You know?
You do.
I mean, that's what this world has come to. We have to stand there and lie to each other.
Yeah, because you might say one little thing that's going to be offensive.
Right. You can't speak your mind anymore.
No, you can't. And with politics, you can't either. I mean, unless you're on the same side.
You know, I'm a member of the Actors Studio, which is as left you can get.
Yeah.
And I'm a conservative, and they know it up there. You know, they went crazy when I was a fan of Sarah Palin's.
Yeah.
You know.
You just like Sarah because of her looks.
Well, she is very attractive, but well, I am. I come from an Italian background, and as I said, I showed you the picture.
Right.
When I was in Sing Sing, I was on work release. Now there was a movie called The 7 Ups that went after organized crime guys, and that's what, the ones who arrested me. And all the wise guys I knew were all conservatives. It was always America first, and this and that. We never, you know, they were very patriotic.
One of my dearest friends was a wise guy, and he also lived with me for 3.5 years as far as a...
And I bet you he was like a Republican, you know, a conservative.
I think he goes for whichever, you know...
The right thing.
Yeah.
You know, I'm the same way that way.
Yeah.
If it's the right thing, I'm for it. But, you know, I'm not for all this, you know, let's be honest. I mean, there's a lot of things going on that are not kosher.
Well, the world is is not good right now.
You're right there, really.
That's for
And
sure.
with that, so give the name of your show again so people can watch.
Jodie in Malibu. I also have a lot of shows on the YouTube, Jodie LA.
Jodie.